Hello everyone, it's Maria here from Pebbley Roast Paper Crafting. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Sydney, Australia. Thank you all so much for joining me. Today I'm going to be making a card that will be a night sky with the moon. I was recently asked to make a video or to show somebody how to make the moon look shiny, and I know that's kind of hard when you're adding all these colours, but I'll show you in real time how you can achieve this with some blending brushes, or you can even use your sponges, but I much prefer these kind of blending brushes, which you can find anywhere. You can find them on Amazon, eBay. I found mine at Kmart here in Australia. And even the crafting blending brushes, these are makeup brushes, but even the crafting makeup brushes, blending brushes are pretty much exactly the same. So that's what I'll be using today is my blending brush. So I'll go through everything step by step, and I thought it would be fun to use the Snowfront stamp set. I haven't used this stamp set in a really long time, so I thought it'll be fun to use this. I'm actually going to also use the Stitch Shapes dies, and I'm using the largest circle from these. I'm actually going to be casing a card from the catalogue. This is the annual catalogue, and it's on page 16, and it is this card. Now, I actually have this stamp set, the Mountain Air, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of switch it up a little bit and use it with the Snowfront stamp set rather than the Mountain Air stamp set. And I love this stamp set. It's absolutely beautiful. But I thought I'd do a colour scheme similar to this. And the colours I'm using today are Petal Pink, Blushing Bride, and Rich Razzleberry. And I'm also going to use a retired 3/4 inch circle punch. These are a must-have, I think, to have in your collection. So if you have these punches, please hold on to them. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up! Retired these. I don't know why. I think they're a basic must-have. So just use whatever small circle you have. And, you know, have it according to the size of the project that you're making, so scale it accordingly. I'm using the 3/4 inch circle punch for that. So we'll get started. So we're using this as inspiration, but with the colours that I showed you. So today I'm going to be using Very Vanilla, and I don't use this colour often, but I thought, why not? So this is 4 inches across by 8 inches down, and then I've scored it at 4 inches. Feel free to adapt this to whatever size you wish. This is the size I'm using today, and I thought it's just a fun size to use. And I've also got a scrap piece, as you can see I've stamped behind it, but I'm going to use it again for this project. A scrap piece of just regular Very Vanilla cardstock. This is the thick Very Vanilla. Alright, so we'll put our card base to the side. And with this one, I'm going to start ink blending. And I'm going to use a slick surface. So I like using my Ranger craft mat. You can also use a laminated piece of copy paper. You can do all sorts of things. I like to have a slick surface, so whatever you may have at home, use it. I'm a big fan of using what you have. So what I have here to make a mask is these, I've got some, they're like, what's the brand called? They're like Post-it notes, fully adhesive. There's various brands of it around. I found this at my local Office Works, and this is just a scrap. I hold on to these scraps until I fully use them. So I've got here a punch, the 3/4, and I'm just going to cut it. Oh, oops, got stuck there, and I didn't cut it properly, so it's best to do it from the underside here. Do as I say, not as I do. Now, it doesn't do very well on its own. So as a tip, and now I'm learning this as I'm going along, just have a piece of copy paper with you. I happen to have this on the side here. Stick your Post-it note onto that, and then you can cut your 3/4 circle with your sticky note. That's the best way to go about it, and you don't get, you know, there we go, all done. So that's a tip for you. That's the best way to cut out a, you know, post-it note mask. And then you just peel it off. That's the fun part, is peeling that off. All right. I peeled that off now, so you just have a 3/4 inch there. I'm going to put mine around here. Actually, before I stick it down, I'm going to grab my framelit or my die, and I'm actually going to draw a circle around it. It's just for placement, like where I'm going to put everything. So I'm just going around, just slightly. And this is just to help me to position my mask and where I'm going to put all the images. So I'm going to put my mask roughly about here. Okay? And this is just for me. Like, you can do it any way you wish to do it. And because it's pencil, it's easy to rub out afterwards. So I'm going to start ink blending, and I will show you in real time what you need to do. So once you stuck your mask down, you grab your lightest colour. So in this case, it is Petal Pink. Now I'll just make sure that my brush is actually clean, because I do use it with other colours, and I just use a scrap piece, and that's why I have the scrap piece here. And I use that to ensure that all the colour has come off, and so far I've got nothing there. So I'm going to grab my Petal Pink, and I'm going to ink up my brush. And the slick surface comes in handy because when you kind of like dab off, it leaves a deposit of ink there, and then you can actually use that deposit of ink again and go. So you'll see me now pick that, dab off, right? And I'll just go from the bottom, just lightly up with the Petal Pink. Now, when you're going towards your mask, don't go overly heavy along the mask. You can go very lightly, but not overly heavy. So I'm just depositing now my Petal Pink colour, and I'm just making sure that I have a very light deposit of colour near my mask, because then that way it looks like the colour's moving from the lightest and slowly graduating out. Okay, so I'm just now inking the bottom of this circle here that I made, because I'm using this as a guide for my ink blending. And as you can see, when you're near the moon, I've got a very light colour. Okay, so I'll just keep ink blending and depositing my colour there. So I don't go dark near the moon, but it is a good idea to have a little bit of colour there. Okay, so that's my Petal Pink. I'm going to clean my brush, and I'm sorry I'm doing this in real time, but it is a good idea to show you the process in real time so you can do this yourselves at home. Okay, I'll just make sure I don't have any colour on there when I go between colours. So the next colour I'm going to bring, oh, and I always wipe my slick surface afterwards, and I dry it off so that when I start ink blending again, the colour doesn't rub off onto everything and contaminate things and stuff. So now I've got my Blushing Bride. Going to use that now. And remember, around the moon to keep it light. So I'm going to go dark towards the side there and go light towards the moon. But the colour needs to be deposited there. So as you can see, it's dark there, and then it goes light to the moon. But you need to deposit some colour there and make sure it's light. So as you can see here, see how it's getting lighter? It still has to have colour, so just remember that. So, and when you're blending between colours, you go over the top. So you can have your dark colour go over the top and it looks like it's blended. So again, just go lightly around the moon. Okay, see, I'll show you close up, see that? So always go light towards there. Then we'll go on the other side here. and go light around the moon. Like that, and go light. And can you see that? Much lighter around the moon. Then, this is what I do. You can do this differently if you wish. I'm not an expert, but this is the way I do it, and I feel it works very well. And I'll just clean this off. Get rid of that colour. And I'm not overly fussed if it's not 100% because the rich raspberry is a much darker colour. Now this is where it's going to look a lot more obvious. So I'm going to get the rich raspberry now, and that's the top of the colour. So I tap off, as you can see from the side, and then I go in, but I go lightly around the moon. And then I blend it in to the lighter colour down the bottom, just ever so lightly, and I go around as well. And as you can see here, it's much lighter around the moon. So that's how to make it look shiny, and you will see that once I take off the mask. So I just clean my brush off, because knowing me, and I've done this before, when I go to do my next project, I have forgotten that I had left a bit of colour on there, and then I end up contaminating my ink pads, which you've seen me do in older videos many times. So I'd like to learn from my mistakes. Okay, so I'll just use this now. Pretty much the colours come off, so that's that with the ink blending. And I'll just clean up my mat here. Just dry it off a bit there, and that's it now. All right. So I'll bring this back, and I'm going to take off the mask. And as you can see, because the colour's lighter around the moon, it looks like it's shining. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start stamping. So I'm going to bring my Snowfront stamp set out. And I'll pop this in the corner there. And I'm going to grab this stamp here. And this is the good thing about these night scenes, is that they are black. Makes it super duper easy. So I'm going to get my memento, ink that up. And the reason why I'm using my Stamparatus is because I just find it easier to work with. I get the images more precise, and I don't muck around with making mistakes, but you feel free to use your blocks. You don't have to use a Stamparatus for this. So I'm just going to stamp there, like that. And check that out. Isn't that gorgeous? Yep, that's really good. I like that. All right. And the next image I'm going to grab is these trees. These are great trees. I love them. So I'll grab the trees. And for this tree, I'm going to go a little bit lighter. So I'm going to stamp off. So I'll just ink that up. I like to take off any excess ink on the plate just so that I don't make a mess. And my stamping off once, and then I'll stamp on here. And that looks so beautiful. Then I'm going to stamp the smaller trees there as well, and I'm going to do them in full strength. So I'll just grab, where are they? These smaller trees. And let's grab that smaller tree there. Take that one off. And just arrange it as you see fit, like there's no right or wrong here. Oops. Butterfingers. And go like that. And then I'll just stamp. And then I'll use that same, and I'll just rip this bit off here actually. And then I'll use that same bit there and just go like that. Okay, and then I will grab another tree. So it looks like a forest of trees. Oh, actually, I'll leave that with the trees. That should be enough. And I'm going to grab, now I have a choice between reindeer. Actually, I will use the deer. They look really, really cute. And I'll just stamp over the top and make sure they're really dark so they go above, kind of in front of the trees. So I'll put them here. And I'll be stamping them several times over to make sure they're super duper dark. All right, now I'll link up the deer. And I'll go very dark over them. And I'll go over the top again. I think I'll do that about 2-3 times. And I'll go over the top of them again. And maybe again, I'll see how it looks, and then I might do it again. And I think they look great there, don't you? I like that. So that's that done. So I'll just clean that off. Now we have to ground this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ink blend the memento all along here. So I'll grab my slick surface again, my craft sheet. Okay, and I'm going to grab my brush and my memento. Tap off and just start off light and then see how you go, and go over the top there. And I'll just keep blending until I'm really happy with the colour. Now, maybe it was better if we used a smaller brush, but we'll just go with the flow on this one. So I'll just keep going until it is the desired colour. So we'll make it a little bit darker. Keep going. Make sure it's quite dark. This is where we can go a bit, hard, and just blend that out. Okay, I think I'm really happy with that, the way that's turned out. So I'll just clean up my surface here because it is black after all. Take that away and I'll clean my brush. Okay, so I'll clean that off later because then that's it with the brushes. Alright, so now that we have finished our stamping, we're going to grab our die and we're going to use that for positioning, and I think it looks wonderful with this. So I'm just going to put some painter's tape and I'm going to grab my Stampin' Up die cutting machine and we're going to cut out the circle. And we'll crank that through. All right. So that's all done. Now just carefully take off the painter's tape because I want to make sure that I don't take off any of the colour, but how does that look? I really love that. So that's all done. And so now we can put that circle just on top there and make it look plain and simple. I just love that. I love the way that turned out. So I'll just grab some dimensionals, so just bear with me for 1 second. Now we can keep that really, really plain, and then this is how it looks like this. Or we can add a little panel here. I'm just trying to think, just to jazz it up a little bit. Just hold on for 1 moment. Okay, so what I've decided to do is to use the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder, and I'm going to just emboss the front panel of the card. This will give the card a really nice texture without going to the trouble as well of using extra cardstock as well. So that's a fun way of, you know, giving the card base some fun texture, and also at the same time it saves you a bit of cash. So especially when you're mass producing cards, I think it's a great idea to do that. So what I'm going to do basically is just emboss the front of the card, and I'm just lining it up. And this is a fun texture because it looks like linen, or it looks like, you know, material, and it'll just give this a really lovely look. And I think if you can see that, they'll look fabulous. I love that. So I'll just grab my embossing machine, cut and emboss machine. And for this you'll need plate 1, and you'll need plate 4, I think. Let's see. I think I've forgotten. Hang on. Plate 1 and 4. Oh, geez. Right. So I'll grab my embossing folder. I can have it going to the side like that. Then I'll put my plate number 4. So it's just the 1 and the 4. Okay, so I'll just reiterate that. And then I'm going to run this through the embossing folder, the machine. And you will now see that the card base has been embossed. Now, I didn't do it properly there, so I will run it through again, and it doesn't matter. It will add a really fun texture to that. So I'll just do this properly. I think it moved whilst I put it through. Line it up. We'll do it again. Actually, it'll be interesting to see how it turns out with it done twice and not in exactly the same spot either. So, yeah, let's see how that goes. All right. Make sure it didn't move. Yep, that's fine. And run that through. All right. Now let's see how that turned out. Turned out really good, actually, even embossed twice. Look at that. You see that? Cool. All right. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. So that's the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder. All right. So what I'll do now is I'm going to add my little circle here. You can add whatever sentiment you wish. I'm leaving mine blank. That can be for any occasion, but you know, this is good for Christmas as well. So on the back of that, I'm just going to add some dimensionals, about 5 of them. Okay. I'll add one more, make it 6. Make it even. Alright, so I'll just take off all the backings. So now we'll just place our panel on the front there. Okay, position it where you'd like it. Mine's going to be in the middle. So I'll just make sure I have even on all sides. So make sure it's got lots of, yeah. Just thought I'd get that right. There, just stick that down. And that is my finished card for today. I'll just bring it up closer for you to have a look at with all the texture. So it's just the front panel of the card, the front that's been embossed. The back is all smooth, and this will allow you to write on it without an issue. And it's a fun way of adding, you know, texture without adding another layer of cardstock, which will also save you money too, which is handy to do that. So there you go, guys. I hope you liked today's card. If you'd like to purchase any of these products, you may do so through my online store at pepperyrosepapercrafting.stampinup.net. So this is the Snowfront stamp set, the Tasteful Textile 3D embossing folder, and of course the wonderful stitch shaped dies. Thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to leave me a comment below this video, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you may have within a 24-hour period. And yeah, I look forward to hearing your feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye.